Hello all, we are here for one more lesson of this VariCAD 2016 training course, and the topic for this lesson is 3D objects shape representation. So we have inside the 3D environment objects that we recognize as solids, and the idea of VariCAD is to build these solids inside the program. We can say that the 3D objects created in VariCAD they are described as closed surfaces or closed shells. It is the same. And the majority of your work, it is creating these objects inside the program. But there are tools to import files from other software, and sometimes there is a need to make this import from other softwares to VariCAD due to library parts. If you are working in collaboration projects where someone is doing something on another program, whatever, millions of things can happen. And basically, when you import these objects to the program, is there the moment where you can have problems. So when we import, the format that is mostly used at this moment around the world is step format. Okay, I will import one file as an example. Open, and let me open this part. This is a plastic part to make an injection tool. Basically, it's not the kind of part that usually VariCAD will work with, or at least that is very easy to make inside a program. But this is to show you that having this kind of file in step allows VariCAD to recognize this and to import it. And even you can work with this file. For example, it recognizes the features of the file. For example, if we want to make a fillet around here, it is possible. Or even if you need to make a projection for the 2D, VariCAD has very nice functions to do it. Is accurate, it is fast, so it's not a big issue. So this is already a little complex part. So you see it projected, I think with very nice quality. So this is to show you that VariCAD has the capability to read any kind of step files. You should know that these files need to be well written on a good software. Okay, but what I want to show you is the cases where you import files inside a program and things happen. Okay, when I say things, things happen on the wrong way. So let us start with a new file, and I will import this time a very easy solid, which I could do also inside a program. This is a cube, okay, a closed cube, because these objects loaded from step, the normal it is to be closed, but they can also be open shells, or for example, if you detect errors when you are importing, these may be closed originally on the original software, but if there is an error when VariCAD imports it inside, you may have a solid open, or in this case an open shell, or even another state which is surfaces only. And all these types of objects can contain solid attributes that we are going to see later in this training course. And they can appear in bills of materials or in other lists of parts. And they can be also exported from the 3D to the 2D, as I've shown you in this on the previous file. You can measure distances or coordinates or points or define the constraints. Okay, you will understand what are these things later in our future lessons, but at least keep the idea that it is possible even in files that you import with programs. But on the other side, if when you import the solid, this is not like this, perfectly closed, you cannot calculate volumes, masses, or moments of inertia for open geometry. So all this to tell you that we have 4 types of solids or 4 types of representations. This is the first one. It is a closed surface or a closed shell, as I've mentioned before. And this closed surface means that these objects are solids and perfectly closed and surrounded by patches, so you don't see the inside of this object. And each patch or each surface, you have 6 surfaces, they have an outline created by a 3D curve, and each of that curve is connected to 2 adjacent patches. So one patch has a curve, mathematically speaking, and it has patches that connects to this curve. For sure, because this is a standard object, everything is available to work inside the program. Then you have a downgrade state, which we call solids with missing patches. For example, I will recreate one here, and if you come to this objects menu, you have open solid features, and you have this downgrade state, which is a solid. This is a function to convert a solid to an object with missing patches. I will simulate one if it was imported. For example, I can say I will convert it, and because this is a missing patch, I will delete one of its surfaces. So let me see, and okay. Now I have a solid with a missing patch, and you can see that now I look inside and I see the solid by inside, and you see a lighter color outside, a darker one on the inside, because all the normals of the surfaces or the patches are pointing inside. Okay, this is the state below the closed one. Okay, and in this state, this was created originally as a solid. This is also described as a closed surface, but as I've told you before, during the import, I simulated here, but if it was originally, some errors were detected and the patches were deleted. And these objects with missing patches support the majority of VariCAD operations, with the exception of the volume. For example, if I try to do a fillet, for example, let's put a big value because I know this, you see inside, it is open, but it supported this configuration. Okay. You have another state below this one, which is called the open shell. Okay, let me import a new one. Okay, and this is an open shell. Okay, For sure, we have this feature also to convert a solid to an open shell. Okay, but I simulate what I want to say with an open shell. It is something that it is open. And basically this is also described as a closed surfaces by patches and curves, and they also do not support the volume and moments of inertia because they are open. And the blendings and so on, it is limited because in this particular case you cannot make a blend, for example, in this edge because it will lead to an open area. So this has limited application, but in case of need you can have this one. Let me go behind and go here. Okay, for example, if I was here, I can downgrade this solid and say to an open shell. I will say, for example, this one, and you see it downgraded to an open shell. Okay, and finally you have another state which is called a set of patches, which basically has almost no advantages. Basically are single entities, single patches. You have a command here that is called convert solid to set of patches. So it cannot be converted back, with the exception of if you make the undo. So you see now you have individual entities, and this you cannot do almost anything with this. You can convert, and why these tools are here. In fact, VariCAD has not, and we will see in our next lesson, has not many features to make a repair of these issues. So you may ask why we have these different representations. The idea is not just having the possibility to import a step file and only it is closed, or if it is not closed you cannot import. No, you have the possibility to import the file with error, so you can still work with the file. Okay, but so it will limit the possibilities to do commands depending on the state you have the file. But sometimes you may need to convert these objects to these different types of representation, because in several in other softwares, objects maybe need to be saved in this kind of format of open shells or a set of patches, whatever you can call it, but not closed solids as VariCAD like it, and the majority of the solid modeler softwares. And you may need also to perform a Boolean operation or a blending on an open shell. So there are some cases that this may happen also, and you can convert it to this downgrade state to be able to do this. Okay, so again, and to summarize this topic, this is something that if you don't need to import files from the outside, you may never see this kind of features inside VariCAD. But opposite, if you need to import on a regular basis files from other softwares, so you may have to deal with these functions. This is the representation. In our next lesson we will see some features about how to try to repair some of these things, but keep this idea. Okay.